I'm Kyle Meredith, and I host an interview series called Kyle Meredith With, where I talk to legendary musicians, up-and-coming artists, and whatever that is in between. I dive deep into the making of new albums, stories behind songs, but also things like how is Moby connected with the CIA, and did the Decemberists really thank Robert Mueller in their liner notes? And seeing which band I can get to reunite. Will it be Zeppelin, Genesis, Roxy Music, or Pavement? You've got to listen to find out. It's Kyle Meredith With from WFPK Independent Louisville and the Consequence Podcast Network.
Consequence Podcast Network.
My friendship to all of you precludes my involvement with any one of you. But if you wanna make love, then I do too, and I'll be right there behind you. All in the name of oh, all in the name of oh, all in the name of
Greetings, constant listeners, and welcome yet again to The Losers Club, a Stephen King podcast presented by the Consequence Podcast Network. My name is Mel Castle, currently residing in Iowa City, but Chicago is where my heart is, and Maine is where my other heart is. And today we'll be traveling...
You're a Time Lord? Love it.
Yes.
We got two hearts.
Don't interrupt me. I'm hosting. And far away from me, but still present and living, beating against the walls of my heart, trapped forever, are these two lovely lads in Chicago. Who are they?
This is Mackenzie Bump Gerber, and I'm here to speak on behalf of all cats who've been wronged in their lives, their 9 lives.
Oh, well, if you're going to take Bump, then I'm going to take Michael Shooter Rothman.
Lame.
Easiest
We've
one
given
ever.
up on alliteration entirely.
I have.
Just
I
aren't
have.
clever anymore.
Well, I originally was going to go with Michael Herb Rothman. It makes even less sense, but okay. Editor-in-chief and co-founder of Consequence of Sound, and very excited to talk about this novella, short story. What do we want to call it?
Let's call it the short story.
No? Is it? I think it's a novella.
It's a novella.
We have to, yeah. I didn't even do one. I'll just go with Mel Mort Castle. That's fine.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And today, in case you haven't figured it out, which, we laid so many clues. It's secret.
Much like the
Just like the novella
just
itself.
like the novella.
Yeah. The novella, the second entry in 4 Past Midnight, which is Secret Window, Secret Garden. We're going to be talking about that today. It's going to go great. Let's talk about our first time we were ever exposed to this story. I can go first.
Okay.
This may surprise you guys. I was really into the movie in 2004.
Oh my Lord.
When it came out, the adaptation. And watching it for this episode brought back a lot of nostalgia for me. My friends and I were big into Johnny Depp in 2004. Let's see, if I was born in 1989, I would have been... Where's Justin when you need him?
You would have been 20.
Yeah, 20. Okay, that's a little embarrassing. I guess I was really into Johnny Depp when I was 20. I would not have been 20. You're totally wrong.
Yeah.
We'll figure this out
84
later.
to 2004? Yeah.
No, 89 to 2004.
Oh, 89 to 2004. So then you would have been 15.
Yeah, that's so much better. Yeah, okay. I was really into Johnny Depp when I was 15. And I loved the movie a lot. I saw it multiple times in theaters and never read the story until a couple days ago.
So
I read it in 2 days.
You saw this multiple times in theaters, you said?
I did. Wow. I saw it multiple times.
You saw it multiple times in theaters.
I'm going to say at least 3 times.
Oh my God.
Now, wait, now we discussed this the other day. Didn't Pirates come out around the same time?
It was actually the year before. I was wrong when I was talking about it because Pirates of the Caribbean came out in 2003. I forgot this came out in 2004. So he was already having like a sort of mainstream depaissance.
So I get like people fawning over him in Pirates, like I enjoyed that movie. I enjoyed his performance in that film. And that was like the depaissance. Yeah. But man, if I had watched Secret Window the next year, I would have just been like totally out on him.
Here's what's crazy. So they came out, and we'll talk about this in the film section, but it came out in March of 2004, which means it was like weeks after his nomination or his loss, because he was nominated for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
So this is like the immediate follow-up. This is like, with Halle Berry with Catwoman.
I think it was highly calculated, though. Like, it was the Depassants, and then they were like, but what if we made him kind of scraggly, gave him this terrible dye job, and had him in a robe for the whole film? Would you still do it? And America said, I guess.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah, it wasn't received that well. We'll get to that later on.
Mixed reviews. Okay, but how did you guys first come to know Secret Window, Secret Garden, Mike or Mac?
I mean, I was the same way. I only knew from this film, and honestly, I had not seen it until much later after its release, because I remember it came out around spring break of my first year of college, and I was at home in Fort Lauderdale and Miami and with my girlfriend. And we were so bored that night. Like, I mean, so bored. And because none of us were, 21 yet, so we couldn't really go, drink and stuff. And so we were just kind of wandering around figuring out what to do. And there was just no movies coming out, because at that point, March was kind of a dead zone for films.
Oh,
and I remember
a dead zone?
King's Dominion.
No pun intended.
Stupid.
And so I remember seeing this poster and then seeing it in the newspaper, like as a listing, being like, oh, wow, we can go see this movie. It's got
Isn't
Johnny
the
Depp.
poster just his face?
It is. It's the
just
most
his face.
boring poster ever.
Welcome to the early 2000s. Those posters suck.
And so we had nothing to do. We had a movie that was Stephen King stamped and also Johnny Depp in it. And I think we went to the beach and like walked around or something like that. I just could not handle it. So I honestly didn't see it until much later when it was already on like HBO or something. And I just remember being like, oh God, this ending sucks. So going into this book, I was because the book shares so many similarities with the movie, I was anticipating the ending being the same thing and being like, oh, this book, I can't handle this. Right. Obviously, we'll discuss some differences there.
Yeah.
What about you, Mac?
My first experience was seeing the trailer for the film. I don't know, most likely in theaters. And it was one of those moments where you're watching it and you just think, it's showing me the entire movie. I know the twist. This is lame as hell. And I thought John Turturro is like, I love John Turturro, but he's like not scary at all.
He is doing his level best. We will talk about him.
Yeah. But it is like that character, even in the story, it's like the most caricature ridiculousness. I don't know. I was not interested in seeing it at all. And I liked Johnny Depp at the time. I was into Depp. But I was not into this movie. I thought he looked ridiculous. I was a Depp head at the time, probably. But man, I just was not interested. And then I found out that it was a Stephen King story. And then I think my interest was a little bit more piqued. But when I said, well, is the movie this? Is this what happens in the movie? And whoever I was talking to is like, yeah, that's a twist.
Yeah.
I was like, well, yeah, you could tell that from the fucking trailer.
Exactly.
So ultimately, that was my first experience with the film, but I didn't watch the film until yesterday on HBO, and I hadn't read the short story at all. So I haven't read any of the other short stories yet in this book. This is my first outing with it, and I gotta say, wasn't too thrilled with this story. So I can't wait to talk about it. But
Yeah.
I will say that it has a couple of things in there. There's a couple of things that piqued my interest, and
There are
I read
a couple things in the story.
Yes, there are a couple things in this novella. I read what is this? The Guild, but it was like a UK pressing of the book because I thought, oh, maybe something else. Maybe this will bring something else to it. But
when was it published?
It really
Matt?
didn't.
When was it published?
It was published in 1990. So screw you. I didn't plagiarize. No, it was 1990.
All right. That's good.
I have the 1990 Signet edition graciously lent to me by the Iowa City Public Library. Shout out to the Iowa City Public Library. You can rent art from them and hang it in your home.
Ooh.
But in this case, I didn't rent art. I rented 4 Past Midnight. And it's a paperback. It's got like a clock fading into a cloudy background on it. It's really thick. It's got little illustrations before each novella. In this case, it's a house on fire.
I gotta say, my cover, which I didn't bring the actual the book cover here, but it has there's a little picture on the Guild Publishing page of a clock and a demon kind of sitting on top of it, reaching down.
That sounds pretty spooky,
And
Mac.
it is 4 past midnight on the clock. The attention to detail is really good.
Verisimilitude.
Really good there. But it's really cartoony, and I'll try to take a picture of it and post it. But the cover is really like, this is clearly a UK pressing. No offense to our fans in the UK.
Well, you've prompted me to notice that in the cover of mine, it is 12:15.
So they really screwed up there.
So I think they read it as a 4th past midnight.
Maybe.
Mine is actually it's the 2016 first Scribner paperback edition. So it's got this.
I really like
cool-
those editions.
Very nice, and this has got like a nice Miami Vice teal blue sort of thing going on. A lot of birds that are forming a circle. And that would be a clock, and it is 4 past midnight on mine. So they did get it right. And thank God for the Scribner to know the essence of time. So it's a tome though, and a tome, yeah, tome. So I've been carrying it around for the past few weeks, and it has just bin a struggle because I don't want to like bring it out. It's not one of those type of books where you could just like pull it out on a train because it's so huge. So it's been kind of a pain in the ass. I've actually been carrying it around for 3 weeks to no avail because I didn't really start reading it heavily until like a few days ago. So I lived with it.
Yeah, you absorbed its energy for a while, and then you were ready. Let's talk a little bit about the history of this story.
Yes. Don't you see? Don't you see how clear it all is? Not only can you see the future, I can change it. You can change it, exactly.
There's not a ton here. It's not one of those that I feel like he dwelled on forever. And he has a little intro. Do your books have the little intros before
does.
every? Okay. Yeah. So he talks about kind of trying to write a story about how fiction can overcome its author. He wanted to write about the relationship between the writing and the writer, but from the side of the writing kind of overwhelming or affecting or warping the reality of the writer. And he says he's tried the same thing from the other perspective on how writing affects the reader prominently in Misery. And he's certainly written about writers before. I think it's funny that in this introduction he says, this is the last one I'm going to do about a writer and the tortures of writing. Like, sure, dude.
That was interesting to me, and obviously one of my favorite parts of this podcast is always just trying to get inside King's brain. So if he ever feels an itch while we're recording this, it's probably because I'm just right there trying to get in. But I thought it was interesting that like so much of this story itself is redundant to say the Dark Half and a lot of the themes that he was discussing as a writer with like Paul Sheldon. I mean, just think about like the more personal takes that he has had in his more recent writings that we've covered in this podcast. They all deal with like this sort of guilt of feeling as if you're kind of like a fraud, or like you've done you've kind of just been he's going to be defrauded, which is definitely like a fear of any writer, I think. But what I thought was interesting is that like this one particularly deals with like the guilt of plagiarizing, and which is just copying in a sense, and that's something that he's discussed in Misery. It's something that he's discussed in The Dark Half. He's discussed in obviously this book and a few other books in the past as well. But it's interesting that ever since we did it, which he declared was kind of his like last horror book, like this is his magnum opus for
it's
horror.
the end of the cycle.
Yeah, it's like the end of that. And then now he's saying like, this is the end of the writer book. And then later this year, we're going to be talking about Needful Things. That's the last Castle Rock book. And I wonder like, was he having like an existential crisis at this moment in his career?
I think that he found that when you say this is the last of something, book sales go up. I mean,
Smart.
it's like Kiss and going on a farewell tour every year. You know what I mean? Like people are gonna go see it. They think that's it, and then it's not. I think it's interesting that he wrote this in between drafts for The Dark Half.
Yeah,
and I just thought, man, if you're writing The Dark Half, which is essentially very close to this story in terms of like, your pen name becoming real. When you're taking a break from The Dark Half, don't you write something completely different? Not the same, basically the same story, just like kind of not as good. Like, I don't know.
He acknowledges these similarities without explaining away the question that you're posing. He's kind of like, I wanted to do it again.
Yeah, he was like, I wanted to do it, but from kind of this angle. And I was like, from what? I mean, it is a different angle, but I don't know.
Well, the thing that's interesting, the thing that really creeps me out about this story, even beyond the actual story, is just how autobiographical a lot of the elements are, with regards to the way he has to contend with the smoking. And that comes from a very personal place. Yeah. And granted, he didn't get divorced, but I have to imagine that maybe that he's coming out of the 80s in which he was just at his height and his zenith, like where he was just basically like pumping out story after story, working on adaptation after adaptation. And I wonder if that did have some sort of stress on, his relationship. And maybe that's where he was coming out from a place from there. Because, obviously, as we will be discussing, Mort has a relationship with his writing that supersedes anything with Amy and his own character. So I wonder if that came out of his own guilt from that.
Maybe. Are you saying that maybe he also plagiarized?
No, but I think...
Well, but he's been dogged by accusations of plagiarism his whole career. And my cursory research has revealed that, in fact, one time someone broke into his house to accuse him of plagiarism. And Tabby found him, and he was like, my aunt wrote the real plot to Misery, and your husband plagiarized it, and I have a bomb. And he didn't really have a bomb. It was a fake bomb. But like when people are doing that shit, of course you're thinking about it all the time. When you get that big... And I love, there's a passage that I think strikes me as one of the only worthy parts of this story where he talks about it can always feel a little bit like stealing when you don't know where the ideas come from. They come from this big nebulous vat of ideas. And that's what it feels like to pull.
I can speak to that because I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but this is a little tangent. But when I was growing up, these movies were on all the time, on TV. And especially the motion picture, the first film, I'm not a really big fan of at all. But years later, Justin and I were writing a season of Doctor Who because we love Doctor Who. And we came up with this new doctor, and I came up with this great story. And it was all about like how the doctor and his new companion are being attacked by these entities that start appearing in the TARDIS, and which is like their spaceship, if you don't know Doctor Who. And it's slowly revealed that they're actually projections from an alien spacecraft that has found Voyager 1.
Oh, wow.
And found the record, the golden record. Yeah. And misinterpreted it because it's been damaged by space debris, and they're just projecting these weird half versions of what's on the golden record to try to communicate. And then I watched Star Trek, the motion picture, and the main villain is like this weird version of Voyager 1 that's come back, and it's called V'ger, and like it's like this distorted version of like it doesn't understand because it's not, it's been so far removed from. And I just thought, did I see this when I was like 8 and it just somehow stuck in the back of my mind? I thought I was coming up with such an original idea.
Yeah.
And it is very different, but it's the same thing. Like when you start coming up with something good and you're like, where is this coming from? I can see you start to doubt yourself and think, maybe this is something I've seen or somehow, absorbed over time and just them thinking it's my own.
Totally. I straight up plagiarized King once when I wrote a story about a drug where if you were on the drug, you could see things. You could see like monsters that other people couldn't see. And doesn't he have a story where if you're quitting smoking and you have a certain amount of nicotine in your body, you can see these other creatures? I definitely buried in my subconscious, and I brought it out, and thankfully never did anything with that story once I realized what I was doing. But it's a fear that really plagues people, and people here, certainly in the program, talk about it all the time. But I can imagine being that big of a writer, you wouldn't be able to know at some point, like, who is talking about a connection that is arbitrary and coincidental, because like, oh, sure, you could see a connection there. It's just not plagiarism. Same thing with stand-up comedy. Happens all the time, right? Oh, totally. Like, and it's a really scary thing, I think, for a writer.
Well, even think about the time too. So it's like the 90s, and what resources can you really have? I mean, like nowadays you can like hop on YouTube or search the internet for a lot of things, but now it's like all it is just what you've known and what you can remember. And we've talked, you've already hinted at the idea of the subconscious. And I mean, that's what this whole story for the most part, it really is about. It's just how much you're willing to lock away and how much can you really run away from. And with this, I get that King maybe was contending with that side of stuff. And maybe that's something that he wasn't able to fully accomplish with the dark half. And he felt the need to sort of make this, I don't know, tangential story that is still dealing with these type of things. Because if there's one thing that I will give credit to him is that he isn't so much of a redundant writer. I don't think that. I think that he's kind of Spielbergian in a way where he really does love to have that MacGuffin. He loves to have that sort of thing that separates it from a lot of the other things that he's been doing. So, with the exception of the times where he really feels like he needs to say something, and I think that the message or whatever thoughts he was getting out of this, I again, this is all just me like assuming all this stuff, but I got the feeling that he was wrestling with some demons that he was able to kind of purge by telling the story. And maybe that's one of the reasons why he wanted to put out there. I didn't realize how intimate it was and how personal it was until I really kind of started just similar to Mort at the end of the story, putting it together myself.
Oh, you were talking to yourself, many versions of yourself?
Well, I was, and I was also wearing a hat, and Samantha walked in the room and was just like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "You better get out of here."
I like to.
You were like, "You better get out of here."
You better get out of here, Pilgrim.
I like to think that he was like, "Oh, this story is kind of similar to a lot of other things that I've written or things in the past." Maybe I'll make the villain like an Amish Mississippian. Like no one's written that before.
I think
and
you're
that's
right,
true.
Mike.
Yeah,
That he tries to do that, but he's at his most redundant when talking about writers and writing because it's his chief concern and probably like a thing that again just plagues him all the time. He's very interested in ideas and how they don't come from anywhere buried concretely within one person. That's a very consistent theme across his works. I think it's an inexhaustible run, right? So it doesn't annoy that many people.
Yeah.
His self-inserts might annoy some people,
which is wild because he's still 10 years removed from on writing a memoir of the craft.
Mm-hmm.
It
sounds like, we were in history, and then it sounded like you were talking about what intrigued you about this book, maybe the themes that hooked you. So maybe we should talk about the hook a little bit more.
Well, guilt, grief, the paranoia that comes from within. Yeah,
revenge.
I'll quote Sting, Stuart Copeland, and Annie Summers. And what band is that, Mac?
Oh, The Police.
The truth hits everybody. And I think that's kind of the big message here is that you can't run from the truth. The truth is out there, and it will come back to haunt you in ways that are unexpected. So that's what I got out of it.
Repression's,
and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I was going to say repression's big. Like, there's so much stuff that comes to the surface during this story, and you're like, wow, you really just totally shut yourself off from these things that have absolutely happened and had big impacts on you. It's like, how do you not remember these things? But that happens.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, it's such an interesting, I'm sort of dipping into structure and format here, but the novella is an interesting choice for a book that, spoiler alert, is about a writer's inability to differentiate reality from unreality, and he creates a personality that's actually just part of himself, but he thinks it's a different person. Like that requires so much hinting and buildup that I'm not sure it works in this shorter form, this like idea of repressing all this stuff that we don't even get a glimpse into, right? Like we don't see that many hints laid because there's just not enough time. Yeah,
I know. I agree with you. I don't think it does work. I think one of the major failings of the book, not to jump into misery, but is that the creation of John Shooter is not earned. Because it's just all in his head. It's not like he's writing a story currently about John Shooter and then he comes to life. So you're like, he brings his character to life, but it's not actually a character he's ever written before. No. So it's like very strange. I don't know. Again, I think this would have been better served as a full-on novel. There could have been
like Dark Half 2.
Although we hesitate to say that, right?
Like, it would just be the Dark Half. Well, no, it wouldn't be the Dark Half in the sense that the twist is obviously, very different from the Dark Half.
It is, yeah.
But I don't know if it would have worked. Yeah, I don't want to get into too much because I really want to shake this down as
well. What you're saying
misery.
About the how it's earned with Shooter, I think this. Because he had never written a story, I think the idea is that his life experiences created this demon, this evil, so to speak, that in the same way that we would, any writer would actually create characters on the page, like they all come, I look at writing as like, if you take your pointer finger and just like slide it across, a desk that's been old, and you're going to collect all that dust. Like that is like writing for me. It's like you're just going to be taking everything that you've learned or that you've experienced up to a point and assemble it in some sort of ways. I mean, you could use that in any pop culture. I mean, like for Christ's sake, like even something like Star Wars, it's so big. Like the Wookiee came from George Lucas's dog. So, I mean, it's all just like, it's all life experience in the way. And I think that's, I guess the argument that King would make, which is like, well, he did create Shooter in the same way that he would have created any other of his characters. So I don't know. I guess in that respect, but to be honest, I don't know if I could have handled like 100 more pages.
Well, that's what I'm saying too. Yeah.
Well, and I'm intrigued by a structure where I like where the book starts. Like, I don't want it to start earlier, like with his actual act of plagiarism back in undergrad or whatever.
Right.
And I like that we learn about that later, but we learn about it so late that it's not actually satisfying as a turn.
Yeah.
Well, it's also not satisfying. Like, so if you look at the hook of it, it's like, oh, this is the one where the writer's being haunted by himself. That like, we literally 2 books ago, we just talked about the same exact thing. So to your point, like, yeah, it's that redundancy alone is ridiculous, but it is the twist at the end of this book that gives it some sort of like oomph, that gives it some sort of edge that, Dark Half honestly didn't really have compared to that. It's just the problem is it's like this chicken and egg thing. It's like you can't have that twist without having everything that came before. But whatever came before doesn't really mean much unless you get to that twist. So it's like, do I think that it's earned that you can get when you get to that twist, you're like, oh yeah, this is worth the journey? Not really, but it's still like, I wish that he could have found a way to like marry those ideas a little bit more to make that journey more exciting to get to the twist. Cause the twist is pretty revelatory and fun. Like I like it cause he does like this downward spiral of twists. Like once you have one revelation that leads to another revelation that's connected. So it's very well thought out in terms of like a downward spiral. But
in that sense, I feel like it's as if he definitely came up at the end and was like, I've got to write this story because this is a cool twist. And it just kind of failed.
Well, do you think, I thought, and this is definitely informed by my having seen the movie, but while reading it, I felt like I could have anticipated the twist like a third of the way, if not before, through the novella.
That is literally something I was contending with while reading it, like over the last few days. I was like, would I have known like that it was obviously him had I not seen the movie? And I think I would, because like honestly, within like the first 20 pages, you get
hinted at.
Yes.
The movie does a better job with that, I think.
No, I think that if you have seen or read stories before ever, that people are pretty smart. And I feel like reading this, and maybe it's because we know Stephen King at this point. We've read him, so you're looking for some kind of twist. You're looking deeper into things. You're not just reading it on a surface level. If you're reading on a surface level, maybe you don't see that coming. Maybe. Because all of a sudden at the end, things just like escalate 1,000%. And you're like, wait, he's been living in this house, but he hasn't seen any of himself having written Shooter all over the walls. It's just like very bizarre.
Well, think of it as a subversion to your notions that you would have after the Dark Half, where everyone sees George Stark, Well,
that's the thing too, is like, I guess if you're thinking, oh, this is another Dark Half story coming right after the Dark Half. You probably, I think even then you're still thinking there's a different twist here, because why would you put this book out, this story out right after the Dark Half?
I haven't read the Dark Half, so I'm coming from a different place, but maybe that's useful.
Yeah.
Well, it's also just, I think I got to go back and look at all the tropes of different decades, but I feel like this trope specifically was in our generation, in our wheelhouse, was just this idea of the psychosis taking over. I mean, like, think about every fucking thriller from like 1997 to like 2007 to 2010 all has that sort of variation of the twist of like, oh, it was this person all along, and a lot, you could blame M. Night Shyamalan because of the Sixth Sense. You can go into half a dozen thrillers. This is one of them for sure. Identity is another one.
Yeah,
with a real
Identity. There's a lot of film, and then also any like young adult television show always had an episode like this, or a season where you find out the killer. You find out like halfway through the season or more that the killer is actually like the one that's been helping them all along. You know what I mean? Like, or is the person, or, you know, I don't know. It's just.
But in 1990, if you hadn't read The Dark Half, you might have been a little intrigued.
But that's the thing. It's like, I'm trying to think of
guess.
like any other stories that really had done that, or movies, at least in pop culture, that really had done it up until the late 90s. But I don't know. But then here's another question. Does this, because this is what I was trying to do. Psycho, I guess, is one. Yeah, that means
even
Psycho's
the ending
pretty
is
much
very much like Psycho.
It is very much like Psycho.
You mentioned that earlier.
But here's a question I have, and that this is what I was trying to keep in mind while I was reading. Is King just trying to be as blatant as possible about this? And does it work better?
I feel like, it is so blatant that I wonder if it's purposeful. Like when the coincidences show up, when he hears someone say Pilgrim, he's like, wait, John Shooter says Pilgrim. What's going on? And that's just like so antithetical to keeping the reader in the dark until the very end when you make the connections on your own. That I do wonder, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's also the idea where the structure doesn't work for me, in the sense that he is the narrator. He is the most unreliable narrator, because the entire time he's the one that's actually doing these things. So it doesn't feel like a cool twist at the end, or like, because you're constantly being fed the wrong information. So it's like, it's not a satisfying twist for me, because you've purposely been fooled. It's like there's an episode of Sherlock where they do that. I don't want to get into that, because that show just kind of got not great as it went along, unfortunately. But I think it's like one of the last seasons. There's this whole episode where like Sherlock's trying to figure out this mystery, and then at the end they're like, "Oh, well, this is actually what happened, but we didn't show you these things." Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, the whole point of watching this is so that we can try to figure out the mystery as well, but Sherlock's one step ahead. And so if you're just constantly misleading the audience, but I think it's misdone here, because he makes it really blatant that it's probably him. I don't know.
Well,
it's really strange.
Let's talk about how we get there. Like, what are the actual? Let's talk about structure and format.
Look at me. Look at me, teacher.
I love that. Kurt Barlow? Is it Barlow that says that in that sound effect? I think it is. But.
Love that.
Yeah. I don't know how I landed on that soundbite for structure and format. But,
I don't know either.
Whatever.
I was editing.
They all fit in retrospect.
I was editing the Langoliers episode the other day, and I was really listening to those since I haven't listened to them in a while. And I just thought, why is this one even in here?
Yeah.
It's like, why are you picking these for these?
I couldn't. I think it was supposed to be because, yes, teacher, show me, or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like in my head when I'm trying to find a sound effect.
We're really reaching here for some of these, but I love it.
I love the history and the hook one, though.
It makes perfect sense if you just believe.
Yeah.
I feel like when we're talking about any kind of twist, like structure and format, the technicalities of it have to come into play. But if we're just talking about how the novella is structured, it's got weird chapter divisions.
Yeah,
it does.
It's just kind of like a couple paragraphs. Sometimes they're really short, sometimes they're longer. They seem a little arbitrary to me sometimes, when a number will just disrupt the text.
Yeah.
And it's split into, let's see, how many of them are there? 50. Exactly 50.
Wow. So
okay,
50.
Interesting. So that seems like a nice round number.
So this, sorry to cut you off. This felt like the structure to me really felt like a Bachman book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even down to these chapters. These chapters are, the way that this is done is very much like The Long Walk, very much like Running Man. It felt to me like I don't know.
Well, they also kind of separates things with dreams a little bit, but they're not like the most compelling dreams. They're kind of just very
hate those dreams.
Yeah, right. They're just very like obvious.
Didn't this feel like road work?
In the sense that like it's a man alone feeling sorry for himself.
Like we're supposed to care about this protagonist.
Well, I was going to say that is something I admire about King, that like, I mean, this wasn't as boring as Roadwork. Like I turned the pages of this relatively quickly, despite the fact that it is kind of just like a man napping and not napping.
It really is
on and off. I found it pretty interesting by the time I got, past shooter's initial appearance. So that's something I was impressed with, like the smallness of the setting and the narrow the narrow aperture of through which we see this one guy who's a bit of a sad sack. So I think it succeeds where Roadwork fails in that sense.
Okay. But here's a question. Do we feel the epilogue is a total cop-out?
You mean the fact that like this ends up being a supernatural book all along?
Well, see, I actually like that, but I just meant like, okay, so because usually the sort of situation that you can kind of paint yourself into, or the conundrum that a writer can paint themselves into when you're doing this sort of like split personality thing, is that like, well, if one of them dies, well, and it's first person, well, there goes your story.
It's going to tell
exactly. So like, it felt as if like, obviously when it does these type of split things, like you always wonder, like, are they really going to kill this person? Because like the story has to be told somehow. So when it's revealed that Mort is killed by Fred Evans, it all of a sudden it goes in this epilogue, and yeah, you're right, Mac. It is totally psycho at the end. Like it's just like that whole doctor talking and explaining everything that happened, and it just made me wonder, like, is this like, as much as I like some of the revelations in there, especially the ghostly stuff, kind of is a cop out though, right? Or not cop out, but like a lazy.
It's the perspective is close third, but we get into Amy's mindset actually before the epilogue even. So I could feel it gearing up to do that switch, which is an interesting structural choice that makes it seem rather inconsistent, because we never get anything from the minds of the other characters throughout the entire rest of the story. And I definitely felt, as I was nearing the epilogue, I was like, this is going to be like Gerald's Game. This is going to be this like really disappointing movie style epilogue where everything is kind of like wrapped up and explained in the same way the movie did it. And it sort of was.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess if you look back and at the little nitty gritty details, I wonder if you could make the argument that's like lazy, arm's length, third person omniscient.
Yeah. Like I just don't feel like going into anyone else's business until the very end.
Yeah. But in that respect, I guess, doing the dream and then having the wake up of the revelations of stuff that happened, it's so formulaic now with this type of narrative that like, we've seen it in Fight Club. Like, we've seen it. I mean, obviously we just named out a bunch of different titles that do this type of style.
Mr. Robot.
We know. Yeah, exactly. And Mr. Robot. We know to look out for the indicators of this type of stuff. So when he's constantly sleeping and things are happening, like the burned down house or the people who died. He
wakes up and feels sore.
Yeah, like it's so fucking obvious.
I think it's unfortunate. Like Mel was saying earlier, though, in 1990, we've lived our lives. We've read these stories. We've seen this done a billion times. But had this been the first thing I read, maybe I wouldn't have seen those indicators, and maybe it would have all come together for me at the end. Like, oh yeah, like every time he talks to Shooter, he's just like waking up, yeah, and or he's like half asleep, or like maybe that would have felt more original, and maybe we're just kind of giving it a little bit too much guff for people having done this, multiple times since then. You know what I mean? It's like watching any.
Well, and also we'd seen the movie. So, I mean, if you're a reader and this was your first ever exposure to anything about Secret Window, Secret Garden, I'd be really interested to hear if this was a surprising twist for you. And you'd never seen any movies in 1990 to 2007, roughly.
There's got to be a fan of the pod out there that's never seen a movie and never read a story, and this is their first.
Yeah, we're in 2019. So if you're 12 years old and you're a listener, were you surprised?
I think the problem is that like Mort is such an unreliable narrator from the get-go. I mean, he basically admits a few pages into this story that he's like suffering from, some sort of grief, that he's had a weird, unstable past. Like it's not, as laid out as it's going to be later on down the book, but it's there. And if you look for it and you read between the lines, I feel like it's just, maybe King was supposed to from the beginning. I'd love to know. I'd love to waste one of my 20 questions to ask him if we ever get an interview.
yeah.
Oh, when you wrote Secret Window, were you intentionally trying to suggest that he's of two minds here? But
Mostly I want to talk about Secret Window, Secret Garden.
yeah, we love the Institute, but let me tell you, let's go back to 1990.
But you're right, Mike. I mean, there's so many sequences, even early on, when he starts going, well, did I steal this story? He starts questioning himself so early that you really do he becomes a suspect so early that when things start unfolding, you're like, oh yeah, it's obviously him.
I mean, this
in
is
some way, shape, or form.
This is the
4th
fourth page. During that time, he had been doing well, if you remember, to change his underwear, let alone handle more esoteric things like optometrist appointments. Already within that one line, you're getting the sense okay, he's clearly not in some frame of mind that's normal. He's a recluse living out in the middle of nowhere, depressed and distraught. He
owns a cat too,
and he owns a cat too. That's dangerous.
Do you remember when the first ever mention of he actually has done this before? Because I do feel like it comes way too late. The concrete claim that yes, I plagiarized before then, it's all just I feel vaguely guilty because I've been accused, not because this has ever happened before.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty far into it. It's about 135 pages into the story, because that's when you find out about the Delacourt.
Yeah, and he's like,
situation.
how could I forget about the Joker whose story he stole from Kintner. And you're like, yeah, how could you forget that? And if you're forgetting huge things like that that's a huge thing to forget, especially when you're currently being accused of plagiarism. You're just thinking, yeah, okay, then maybe you forgot about how you killed those two guys earlier.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of to King's credit. He does lay out that path for us, for him to be unreliable, to leave out those details.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's very convenient.
I think I would have liked them to toe the line a little more where you really aren't sure if it's real or not. And even if it ended with him being, the way that it does, with him being, this dual personality kind of thing, and he is the killer, that twist at the end would have worked even better, because right when you think you're finally satisfied, you're like, okay, John Shooter doesn't exist. They kind of throw that little twist in at the end, and you're like, ooh.
Well, Amy is the one that acknowledges it too. So you'd think that Amy would have brought that up a little earlier on, although she was kind of being kept in the shadows about what actually exactly happened also. So
same thing in the movie.
She's the first one who acknowledges the plagiarism?
Yeah, because on page 435, she says, because they talk about the nervous breakdown. And, on page 435, she says, I've been so worried about you. And he's like, me? I'm okay. Are you sure? When I saw you yesterday, I thought you looked strained. In fact, I thought you looked like you did before you had the, Amy, I did not have a nervous breakdown. Well, no, but you know what I mean. When the movie people were being so awful about the Delacourt family. And then that's when you find out about. So she knows about the plagiarism in the past, so that dealt with, that struggled with his movie career.
Right.
Granted,
but the
Delacourt
wasn't a plagiarism, right?
No, but it was the first instance that sparked it for him, where it was the first instance that kind of sparked the Kittner past. So he's tying it to, and he had a nervous breakdown then. So it's like Amy's aware that he's struggled with those demons, but I guess the problem is that she doesn't really know specifically.
Yeah.
The details of what's going on currently with Shooter, but.
And just before we move on to our characters, I want to harp the novella choice. Do we really think this would be better as a novel, or do we just think he didn't pull off the novella?
I think he didn't pull off the novella. I think if you make this a novel, maybe it's more fleshed out or interesting, but we're all sitting here thinking oh God, I would not want to read a novel of this.
No, I don't know. I have a section of this book that perfectly summarizes my reading experience for about 90% of this story. So I would say, honestly, this might have even worked better as a short story.
I'd be so interested in how you could do that, though. It would have to be a pretty long short story.
It would. It would be like a 50-page short story that you could really kind of just get into the nitty-gritty of things and not have any fat. Just have to be very terse. I don't
think it would be very satisfying. It would be like I think if it was a short story, I'd be like, I want more. Mm-hmm. And then we get more with this, but it's still not enough.
Yeah.
But if you make it a novel, it's just the crux is just not interesting enough.
Is it an impossible book? It's an impossible story to
An
tell.
impossible story.
I do think-
King, we dare you to rewrite this story.
I do think it's really
Ulysses of
hard
thrillers.
to get into the mind of a plagiarist. Like I didn't buy the section that explains how Mort decided to plagiarize a story, because I think that people who don't plagiarize just don't get why people do it.
Yeah.
I don't get why people do it, and it seems so casual to them. Whereas I don't know, it was an interesting section for me.
Also, back then, it was much easier to do it because, like Mike was saying, now you can just Google a line and then like things will come up. Passages will come up, and it's easy to peg people for this kind of thing. Back then, you really had to know or have read these things.
Yeah.
You know, you're running this by your publisher. Maybe your publisher, they're really well versed in everything that's been written out there. You know, but yeah,
You also have Facebook.
I didn't really buy that either, Mel, when I was reading it. But I'm coming from it from a much more modern viewpoint. So
Yeah.
I was trying to put myself back then, but.
It is, I mean, related to structure and format too, the era in which this was written, the fact that the book has to be structured around the fact that you can't get a hold of a magazine because it has to come through the post. That was pleasurable for me. Like that's not the world we live in anymore, but I can kind of remember it. And I kind of miss the fact that we can't structure stories like that anymore.
It
It would be so easy to get that magazine.
It'd be easy to get the magazine, and then fuck, you could have gotten on eBay for Christ's sake, and probably gotten something, or even shown them on eBay or something. But you could have logged on to MySpace or Friendster or any number, or LiveJournal, Facebook.
I think this is why also that this maybe doesn't work as well, is because it's like how we talk about now when you're writing a new horror story set now.
Yeah.
It's hard to do anything like this with the technology we have. And then even back then, it's like, okay, well, you can just find the old magazine, but it might take a little bit for it to get to you. You know, like he's working with these constraints of the time where it's, like writing things in the present is always really difficult. And I think that's why it kind of just falls flat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, people who plagiarize are bad people. Some might even say they're villains, and the antithesis of a villain is a hero. And in this book, it's the same person. Let's talk about them.
I'm gonna have to kill this fucking clown. Welcome to the Losers Club, asshole!
That was a great seg.
That was a great seg. Rivaling Randall's.
I'm channeling Randall. Let's shoot through the rest of these and talk about Mort.
Mort Rainey.
Mort Rainey. You had a problem with that name yesterday, Mac. It was we were joking around about that name, being like, "What?"
Just sounds like the lamest human being out there. Let me just say,
it's got to be short for Mortimer, right? Mortimer Rainey.
I think so. Yeah. Mortimer.
Is it Morton Rainey? Is his name?
Maybe Morton Steakhouse.
Oh, Morton.
Page 221, which I think is very early on when he first meets Shooter. He says his first thought is that the character doesn't exactly look real. And I thought that's so. He literally says that in the book, like just in his mind. You're like, you're really gonna say that when the first time we meet this character, we're immediately thinking, okay, maybe he's not real. Like, it's just like, what are you thinking?
It's misdirection.
Oh man.
So Mort Rainey could conceivably be worth more than Stephen King if he has a 24-bedroom house. Let me just put that out there.
Oh.
That is insane.
And a lake house.
A lake house. Everyone knows him.
I think it's very interesting. A lot of these, same thing, Dark Half. They have a lake house somewhere.
Yeah.
Like these writers are doing real well.
Well, maybe King's got a lake house, except it's an ocean house, and it takes place in Clearwater. So it's in Clearwater.
I take place in Iowa City.
You do, which is in St. Louis, right? No,
right. Yeah, it's deep in Missouri. Mort is uninteresting, but not so uninteresting that I shut the book. Like, I feel like he's realistic enough. I mean, I guess he does remind me a little bit of our good friend Dawes. I don't know.
Gosh.
He's just
Barton and Morton.
Did you guys like him? Did you relate to him?
I have a weird love-hate relationship with this character because there are so many insights that he had that I've come to those conclusions as well. Situationally, this is not too far from a lot of the stuff that I've been experiencing in the last couple of years. Nothing to do with the murder, death, and psychosis, but mostly just the idea of separation and guilt. And so a lot of the stuff that a lot of those own sort of insights that he had which were clearly King, obviously, because King's writing it, but he's really kind of putting himself in there, I feel, with just his own perspective as a writer, were things I really liked. And so when he's talking about his craft and his own sort of downward spirals that are tied to his own life events, I loved. When he's playing detective, I fucking can stand him.
Well, let me ask you this though. Now, has King ever gone through a separation or a divorce?
He's never gone through a divorce.
And if not,
No, but it's my pet theory that he's definitely cheated on Tabby, and they've argued about it. I'm serious.
Well, no, I was going to say, because he seems to know what he's writing about, and like you said, Mike, you connected with this in a way that we obviously haven't, and it seems like he really knows what he's talking about. You know, writers like to write what they know, but he hasn't actually gone through this experience. So I think you might be right, Mel. I think there might be a little juicy story there somewhere, which we're not going to dig up.
Well, again, I'm basing that on the fact that he's constantly excusing cheating on the part of a husband if the person he's cheating with is like an old friend or like something that needs closure, and then it's fine and they can go back to their married life. That's such a reappearing theme.
Or even like Dawes in The Hitchhiker.
Yeah, sure.
What about, like that Dave Matthews Band song, Say Goodbye? It's a lot like that.
Yep. And Dave Matthews has a new album that's just come out. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Yeah. But the thing is that I didn't hate him. And I guess the problem is that you had mentioned this yesterday, Mac, is that like he always feels that he's earned, right? Or like he's complaining that like, the world's out to get him and that he's, and I kind of agree with that. I guess
it's, for me, reading the story, and I agree with you, Mel. There wasn't a moment where I was like, I can't read this anymore. Like I was moving through it pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think because it is a novella, a short novella, I was like, okay, I can breeze through this. I really just wanted to find out what the ending is. Is it what I thought is going to happen based on the trailer from the Secret Window movie? Because I really was. I was like, I felt like I called it as a kid. I called it from watching the stupid trailer. Now, granted, trailers give everything away, especially back then. Mm-hmm. But I really wanted to see what happens. But with Mort, I just felt like it's really tiring to. I think when you're not in that place and you're reading a character and they're so self-deprecating and just talking about like, woe is me, I've lost this, I've lost that, and not doing anything to really better their situation. And all they do is lay around in a cabin and drink. It's just, it wears me out. It wears me out. Because I unfortunately, I know a lot of people like that in my life. And, it's just like, it's tiring. It's tiring.
Tiring is a good word. Yeah. Go for it, Matt.
So I mean, it's tiring. And again, I understand that that's this character. So, I was on board and I read it pretty fast and, I was invested to some extent, but, I wasn't really rooting for him at all. I wasn't like, oh, I hope he doesn't get pinned as this guy and then just shooters framing him, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I was just kind of like, I don't really care what happens to this character. I want to see what the reveal is, but I didn't really care either way when it came to the end. And I think that's a failure. And maybe that's just my personal point of view, but
there was a lot of familiar King devices where he'd be like, well, I can't talk to the police because this and this and this, and I'm going to spend 5 paragraphs telling you why I told this person one thing and this person another thing, which I think is part of the detective work you're talking about,
right.
Mike.
Exactly. Like he backpedals everything into the point where it's like tiring. I think that's such a perfect word because I felt so exhausted by his character because it's like you could easily get out of these type of situations if you just like we're watching someone in a downward spiral, right? We're watching someone who's amidst a breakdown who doesn't know that he's in a breakdown. And obviously that's going to be tiring, but it's also really frustrating as a reader because you have no agency over anything that's going to be happening. You just have to keep watching this happen. So it's like worse than watching a car crash happen. It's like seeing a car crash that's going to be happening when I can't really explain what that is with that metaphor, but
yeah, it's Mel. It's like that's why I think I'm liking it to road work because you're just constantly watching this guy complain, and every you're just like you could do this, you could do this, you could do this the whole time, and they never do any of that stuff, and they just keep spiraling out, and you just get kind of like it's frustrating. It's a frustrating read, and maybe it's supposed to be that, obviously, to some extent. But it's like also like Chernobyl, like watching that.
Yeah,
like they just keep making mistakes. And you're just like,
I would
oh
not
my
like
God, like you've got to be kidding me. But you know what I mean? Like they keep doing the wrong things. Yeah. And so when he starts not telling certain people certain things and you're just like, this is all going to come back to haunt you. And that's kind of the whole point of the story is the sins of the past kind of coming back to haunt you in a way that was unexpected, I guess. So
you know what it reminds
he
me of?
succeeds in that way. It's a tiring read. And I'm very empathetic, so I get really wrapped up with characters, and when you just see this character running themselves down, and then you see them making all these mistakes, it's hard for me to distance myself from that. And then
Do you yell
I get
when
exhausted.
you read? Are you like yelling at the?
Oh yeah, I was on the train, just like Mort. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? And people are looking at me.
Mort.
I would liken it to one of my favorite scenes from Austin Powers, the original one, International Man of Mystery, and it's when they're in the hallway and they're on the roller. And the guy's like, no! And he's like yards away. And then he's like, move out of the way, get out of the way. And he's like, no! And then you just eventually just roll over him. And it's that inevitability that's so frustrating to watch, especially as a reader, because you're like, oh God, we have 100 more pages of this, and I know exactly where it's going. Awesome.
That's the thing. I think that's the failure. Like if he was trying to make it really obvious, I think that's a disservice to the story because then we're spending 100 more pages knowing the ending, so it's never going to be satisfying because it's like, well, we already know the ending, and when you treat it like a twist at the end. It's like, no, dude, you gave the twist away 200 pages ago, and that's not enough.
Well, he's not leading nearly a compelling life as King thinks he is. I mean, obviously, that's the point because he's doing this. He's a recluse and whatnot. But even just like the sort of spooky stuff that he laces in between or he supposedly thinks is spooky are just like, I mean, they're so blatantly obvious in terms of a metaphorical perspective. Like, oh, him coming in and thinking that Shooter's in the bathroom, but he sees himself in the mirror. Or, the fall house of Usher with the cracks in the walls.
I like the execution of that.
Yeah.
That sequence.
Yeah.
But he does it again. No one's in there. Yeah. But like, I just.
But even then, like when he goes back in. And he goes and sees the typewriter alone with this, secret window, and he thinks somebody's in there again. I mean, he's just recycling the same sort of events over and over again.
I think
it's like, Jesus, we're doing this again?
For me, when the story is being really active like that, when things are actually happening, it's interesting, and I'm on board. But when we're just in this unreliable narrator's head for page upon page, I'm just like, let's go. Let's get to the next phone call with someone that's real.
The Austin Powers metaphor is... if you don't, in that case, moving out of the way is like getting therapy. It's like someone being like, get therapy. And you're like, no.
Yeah, for real.
And then you have a psychotic break and you
dissociate. The thing that's great, though, about Mort is
let's hear this.
It's just like, I really do love when the revelations do come. I almost feel like fucking Paul Giamatti at the end of The Illusionist. I'm like, you have the Delacour that leads into the original thing with Kittner, and then into the reasons why he had all these names. Because I've started grasping at things to like make myself interested. Because as I was reading it, I'm like, well, I know where this is going to go, so you got to find something here. And the horror's not doing it for me, and the thrilling aspects of it aren't, and they're not enough King's Dominion. So what can I do? Let's Pokemon this. And so I just started like thinking of all the little details that he's sharing, like the Southern accent or names that are popping out that are, that definitely have some sort of like bookmark-esque nature to them. And that became fun to kind of see them all come together at the end to how he created a lot of these characters and stuff. But at the end, like we were just discussing, it happens at like the last 25% of this book. So you're still just like, you're in like this car trying to think of, fun games like I Spy for the whole time. And that's not fun as a reader, So.
And I also think those bookmarks are King is like, here's a bookmark.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Let's talk about Mart's other half, his better half, maybe even.
Yeah.
And I'm talking not about Amy, but about John Shooter.
Shooter.
I have in my character's notes here John Shooter, and then I have nothing by him.
Okay, so
I think because it's everything I had is in my head, but
so we tend to really, we always have an axe to grind with like regards to how much he describes things. King does, but oof. The description for Shooter goes on for, I swear, like 5 pages. Well, and he's wearing a shirt.
And then it's repeated later for another 5 pages, every 25 pages.
Yeah.
We get every time Mort and Shooter encounter each other, there's like 5 paragraphs where it's like, Mort realized this man would fight him if it came down to it. And here's how he knew that. And it's another 5 paragraphs.
Yeah.
And what the sad thing is all of this description just, I never felt like he was a threatening presence. I don't know. I just never bought that. I just was never scared of this character. I never, even when he starts doing things and killing people. And again, I think it's just because right from the get go, he's not real.
Yeah.
Like I said, that line where he's just like, oh, you didn't look exactly real. I was like,
he might have been like a figment of my imagination.
Yeah.
He's such a, also because we've read so much King, I feel like just from the very first page with his dialogue of like, well, right is right and fair is fair is like, and here is a King character.
Yeah.
Coming out of the woodwork to be so kingy.
I wrote on my notes, that's funny, Max. So the this man doesn't look real is in the 3rd paragraph.
In the 3rd paragraph of the story,
paragraph. Yeah. So
crazy.
But the description for Shooter, this is the entire first part of the description. This is only the 4th paragraph. This was of no help in resolving the situation, but it was undeniably true. The man who had rung Rainey's doorbell out here in a western Maine version of nowhere looked about 45. He was very thin. His face was calm, almost serene, but carved with deep lines. They moved horizontally across his high brow in regular waves, cut vertically downward from the ends of his thin lips to his jawline, and radiated outward in their thin sprays from the corners of his eyes. The eyes were bright, unfaded blue. Rainey couldn't tell what color his hair was. He wore a large black hat with a round crown planted squarely on. Keep going, I wrote on the side of my notes right here. And it keeps going for like 4 fucking more paragraphs. I'm just like, I want the story to go. You are literally starting the story off, and the 3rd, 4th paragraph is like this insane, monotonous description of this one man. Like, oof, you're trying too hard.
Maybe he just felt like by describing him so thoroughly that it was obvious that he was real. But
yes, yeah.
I don't know.
It's almost like,
again,
trying to smoke and mirrors.
The description is such a weird caricature that it never felt threatening or scary. No. I'm sorry, but like, John Turturro in the movie, I love, again, I keep having to say this, I love John Turturro, but he just doesn't, he's not a scary presence.
No. And he's neither a Southerner.
And the way
either,
that he talks and the way that he speaks, like, I just didn't buy it being frightening at all. I'm just like, who cares?
Well, we'll talk about Turturro for sure in the movie thing, but I thought it was really cool when David Koepp behind the scenes was like, look, we need a Mississippi man. Let's get American Italian actor John Turturro from New York to play this man.
But maybe he was thinking like, he's not real. He's a figment that has been created. So he can't be a real Mississippi person. He has to be someone like acting.
Excuses.
Well, if the reveal was that it was actually John Turturro, that would have been something else.
That would have been cool. Like actor John Turturro?
Yes.
And he's holding the script for
my
Night
God.
Of.
Like it was me the whole
Turturro
time.
is written all over his house
of all your pain.
It should be noted that Turturro was a year removed from starring in Do the Right Thing when this story was published. Great movie.
Do we have anything else to say? Like, the characters in this book are very thinly sketched. It is more about Mort's inner demons, and Amy's fine. Ted is fine. That great insurance agent. So,
well, I guess
I had a question about the insurance agent. Do they usually carry guns? He shoots Mort at the end.
This is America, bro. Let's talk really quickly about Shooter, about the reality of Shooter and that twist ending.
Sure.
All right.
Do you buy that ending?
Of him being a ghost?
Like when it got to that, and they explain, and then Tom Greenleaf is in a very King way is like, but I looked in my rearview mirror, and then I thought I did see a car there and a man, but you could see right through them. It was like a short story tag that in Night Shift that would have been like, ooh, send chills down my spine, and I liked that twist, but then I thought, yeah, but this story just sucks. It still sucks. It doesn't make up for the bad story for the last 200 pages or whatever. Like, I like that twist, but it doesn't. But the fact that Shooter really just disappears and is just Mort with the hat on at the end, I was like, well, if he's real, then why? I wish Amy at some point didn't see Mort. Like for a second, Mort didn't look like himself. Like Shooter was kind of coming.
So you're saying like a spiritual
alive
force
or something.
that was actually coming out?
Because if they're going to tease it at
haunted.
the end, because if they're going to tease that at the end, then I feel like that should have been a little bit more present in the actual. Maybe just hinted at the very least, but it's not. It's very much just Mort like gone crazy. And it's like, well, if you're going to do that, then do that and double down on it. Don't do the tag ending, because as much as I liked it, it didn't feel really earned, because you're just like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. I guess it's supposed to be that. I'm looking at the sort of physicality of this. Is that it would be almost like, oh God, what is the fucking pop culture entity that does this? Where it's like the ghost shadows the person that they're possessing. It's like Exorcist almost, right? Like when Reagan's possessed, they see your father
every once in a while breaks through.
Yeah, and you see that ghost.
Yeah.
So
demon.
I wonder if it's like the same type of thing. And we're supposed to believe that this was like a possession story. So then here's the thing. I have a question on that. If this is a possession, is it Kittner?
No,
absolutely not. What
It's just a manifestation of guilt,
Here's my problem. Like that on its face is a cool concept, that he is so consumed by this thing that he's also repressing, that he's haunted by a thing that he did, so haunted that it takes on its own life and its own agency and its own goals. Like, I guess that's a cool idea, and that's like trauma or guilt becoming its own force, which is classic in terms of ghost stories, right? And King does this all the time. He always like relates it back to these things that's like, if this really happened, every single person alive would have one of these things. And you act like writing and plagiarism is like this higher art that's going to create this ghost.
Maybe it does.
No, it really bothers me.
Can I, sorry, can I read the message from John Shooter?
Yeah, go for it.
I just love that there's a message left, and they're like, oh, it's from a ghost. He says, Mrs., I'm sorry for all the trouble. Things got out of hand. I'm going back to my home now. I got my story, which is all I came for in the first place. It's called Crowfoot Mile, and it's a crackerjack. Yours truly, John Shooter. What the fuck is going on here at the end? Like, when did he write this?
He didn't write
Who
it.
got the message? Is it John Shooter? Is John Shooter actually real? Is he a ghost? Who cares? What the story is called Crowfoot Mile. Well,
John Shooter is the idea of having stolen a story. That's who he is. Like, it's all connected.
But it's also supposed to be Kittner.
Right. Because he actually did steal a story from him.
This is so this ending is like, imagine if at the end of Fight Club, instead of the Pixies, Where Is My Mind sequence, which is wonderful and gorgeous, it had been like they left and security guards they're investigating the building that blew up, and they're like, check out this, and you see Edward Norton's character, and there's like a blur like next to him. Like, what is that? And it's supposed to be, assuming that Tyler Durden was really
believed
there.
them into
But
existence.
that's the problem. It's that, of course, if that was real, everyone would be fucking doing it. And King acts like being a writer gives you this, unique pain. And it's it's not, it's hard. Sure. It's not fun sometimes.
Well, maybe that's the message that he's trying to say. I mean, I know when I go to, one of these Chinese food buffets or any type of place that has some great food, Milwaukee Chubbs comes back and is like, Mike, let's go all in. And I'm like, I don't want to go all in. And he pushes me. And it's another character, that a manifestation of my own guilt of being gluttonous over my life. But no,
you should write us a short novella.
I already are working on one. It's called
Secret
Hidden Fridge.
Chubbs Secret
Secret Chubbs. Okay.
Secret Chubbs Hidden Fridge.
That's porn. Also, Amy is psychic. We'll just throw that out there.
Yes.
Amy,
Well, I have some KD.
here we go.
Yeah.
Well, you want to leave it for that then?
We'll leave it for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
anything
yeah,
else about
yeah.
characters? Because I really feel like they're empty vessels for the most part.
Yeah, there's not too much to talk about. I mean, there's Amy Rainey, who, yeah, like we said, there's some kind of connect there.
I thought that the way he wrote Amy was pretty solid, in the sense that like you get this sympathetic partner that acknowledges that they both had flaws and they also both needed to separate. Without going full transparency, there were parts of this that were reminding me of conversations I've had with my ex-wife, where we both acknowledge that we've been going through some sort of traumatic experiences, and you contend with it on a logical level. And I thought that Amy was pretty logical in a lot of situations here. The problem is
I liked Amy.
The problem is that they also villainize her and I guess it's because you have to kind of support Mort in this way, and it's just such a male
He's
point of
awful when
view.
he thinks about her.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's kind of unfair because that's really mostly what we get from Amy, other than these glimpses until the very end. And which I guess in a way is kind of fortunate that we do have that epilogue, because then we actually get to see the real Amy. Definitely would have liked to have seen a little bit more of her. Maybe that would have played into the structure and format of like if we had more of a third person on mission here.
Yeah.
I think that's where the novel would have went if it would have been from her point of view and his point of view. I don't know though.
But we would have known about that Delacorte revelation. That's the problem. It's like you have all these traps, that you just form a trap. You form traps around you when you make these type of narratives, because you're like, well, we got to keep this secret hidden, and we can't let anything let loose. So,
do you guys have any thoughts on Tom Greenleaf and Greg Carstairs and Mrs. Gavin, the housekeeper, and
Love Mrs. Gavin.
yeah, Miss Gavin? Could you imagine?
I would say in the
walking
book, we got to mention this because it's a difference in the movie that Miss Gavin is not a fan of Mort in the book.
No, yeah, the book is like, it doesn't.
She's in it for like 2 seconds.
It's such a short space. Like King is like, also this character is like just hates ladies, doesn't like them very much. They're really nosy. Like he doesn't like it.
I did have written down, which is something Sam mentioned the other day too. It was that she pulls the story out of the trash, much like Tabby pulled Carrie out of the trash or whatever. Like get right what you know.
Yeah. Were you expecting Mort and Miss Gavin to have some sort of like sexual affair or some sexual fling? Given
well, I
King's
thought Mort
tendencies?
was I thought we were more likely to see like Mort walk in on Miss Gavin and bump.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
And now it's time for misery.
Yeah.
She died. She just slipped away.
Slipped away! Slipped away!
Oh yeah, well, what do you guys think of Bump?
I think Bump's
Bump
good.
the cat.
Bump's fine.
Bump sat alone on a muggy garbage can.
Marsh. Yeah. He's like on a marsh. It's
So
fine.
here's the thing. When you see that cat pinned to the wall and it's a screwdriver,
Well, it's the top of the. I think it's a screwdriver to the top of a garbage.
the
can.
garbage, I think it's like
more weird.
Yeah, like a garbage box or something like
Yeah.
that, because the bears and all.
Yeah.
I thought it was like the red alarm, mother alarm from Alien. Like this guy's just totally fucking in on it, and he's
Oh
in his
really?
head.
See, I didn't think that.
Or no, because I just like
It
you're
takes
not
a
going
lot
to react.
to kill an animal. I think.
No, but I thought like his reaction to it being like, I'm not going to call the authorities or anything. Like, why?
Right. Not doing that. And then also all the thinking about like, well, the blood is fresh, so he couldn't have like gone to Derry and burned down my house, but because that doesn't make any sense. But it's like, it makes total sense if you did it.
Yeah.
Like,
and it also makes total sense that like, if you're still believing that John Shooter is a human being, like who else burned down the house, dude? Like this guy literally just threatened, like, it's so
some
ridiculous.
other.
Oh, maybe it was, what if like he just had conceived of like a fourth, like a random person, oh, maybe it was actually, Klemp. Or like,
Yeah,
what?
Clemp
Like,
pistols.
Clemp pistols.
yeah. Like, I mean, just, yeah.
Well, even the description when they find Bump is the black thing was Bump. Shooter had apparently broken the cat's neck before nailing him to the roof of the garbage cabinet with a screwdriver from Mort's own tool shed. How did he know the neck was broken? How did he, like, he's like already knows all this stuff about it right out. Like, it had to have been Shooter, and this is how it happened. And it's like, okay, you know that because you did it. You know, like, I was just kind of like, oh, Shooter
had apparently is the key word.
Yeah, exactly.
I also like that they both, at some point, I think it's either Mort and Greg or Mort and Herb, both agree that like calling Dave Newsom, the local constable, is like kind of a useless thing. It's like, let's not call this guy. He kind of sucks.
He's old.
Yeah. Like, what? That's a major problem from a town level. But
welcome to Tashmore.
Yeah. Tashmore. What a cool name.
Welcome to Tashmore, am I right?
Holy shit.
All right. Well, if I found Watson nailed to a garbage can, I would be pretty miserable. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
And now.
Yeah, I agree. I would be miserable, and I barely know Watson.
Yeah.
You might be in a state of misery.
I would. Let's go there.
She died. She just slipped away.
Slipped away! Slipped away! She didn't just slip away! You did it! 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 You murdered my misery!
Annie!
All right,
I feel like
this
been
is
living
gonna be
in misery.
Yeah, this is gonna probably be about what, like an hour section? No, for me,
I only have one.
Oh, really? Go for it.
No, I have two.
I have one written, but I think we've already been laying them out there. But
I feel like we've talked about our concerns kind of writ large in the same sense of the misery section. But the first time he talks about Amy was a bright woman, but she had always had a bit of a dead short between her brain and her mouth. He remembered once musing that she should have a T-shirt reading, "Speak now, think later."
God. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think he really likes his ex-wife very much.
I think it's kind of telling that he spends, at least 4 pages talking about John Shooter and less, maybe a line or two about Amy when we first meet her. That's pretty cool. I thought of the opposite of that. I thought the glut of unnecessary descriptions. I just read the Shooter one. I thought that was just exhausting. Mm-hmm. King being king sometimes, and King gets a little too king, and that's not my king.
When King. Let me just say this. What's hard about this book? Because I was listening to the Langoliers, and I haven't read Langoliers, but I was editing the episode, I was listening to it, and it is they really give it hard. They really tear it down.
They do.
When King is good, he's good. But when he's bad, it's like we can't give this guy a pass. And I just want our listeners to know, and the people that have been listening to us for a long time, if this is your first few episodes, if you're reading 4 Past Midnight with us, and this is your first intro to this podcast, I'm sorry. But we've got to be honest, and this is not King at his best.
No.
Having said that, page 306. All the talk about the tar baby.
I know.
Oh, no, the tar baby.
And again, you're like, some people would be like, oh, well, the time when she was written. It's like, this was in the 90s. Like, yeah. I don't know. I wasn't thrilled about that.
Well, you want to read that whole section? I'm just joking.
Not a huge. I know I have it all written here if you really want to. But yeah, the Guild edition 306 if you're really interested. I don't really have a lot of other stuff written because I feel like as we're talking about the story, we've been talking about a lot of the misery that we've had with it. But do you guys have any other specific?
I've got a few more, but you go for it, Mel.
So I think sometimes I agree with you, Mike, that Amy, we get to have a little bit more of a sympathetic view of her, but the story also wants to give her lines that are straight out of a soap opera.
Totally.
Like on my 347, I don't want to argue with you, Mort, she said softly. That part should be over. All I'm trying to say is that even when you were here, you were gone a lot. You had your own lover, Your work was your lover. Her voice was steady, but he sensed tears buried deep inside it. How I hated that bitch, Mort. She was prettier than me, smarter than me, more fun than me. How could I compare?
I also wrote that line down under the character of Amy Rainey. Because it's so King.
What a weird name, too. Amy Rainey.
That's also weird, yeah.
It was a married name. Married name.
It is a married
name. And that
name.
also strikes me as the same sort of elevating, again, the profession of the writer to this thing where it's like, Oh my, you can still be a good, like, I promise you, it's doable. Like, let's not even go here.
Well, it's the same thing with like Bill Denbrough, you know, like
Right.
he's just like buried in his work and his marriage is failing because of it. And it's like, it's one thing to be like, well, you know, I read an interview recently with Stephen King where he was saying that he tries to write like 6 pages a day when he's writing a book. And it's like 3 to 4 hours a day of just like writing. So I'm like, how is your marriage failing, dude? Like, if you're really spending 3 hours a day writing, you know, and then the rest is just shooting the shit with Molly, the thing of evil, and your wife.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that's how it is now. I don't know how it was back in the day when he was like on drugs and just probably holed up with a chair against the door, snorting coke and writing about green skies and trucks killing people, you know, like.
You know, just listening to like nonstop classic rock music and just like wigging out like Lester Bangs or something. I'd love that.
All I can picture is like,
I do a little concert.
What's his fucking name from The Stand, from the miniseries, Parker Lewis.
Oh,
when he's like in the basement listening to disco, and he's like he's working on the bomb.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I can totally see that.
I was like, oh yeah, like take that bomb away, put a typewriter there, and that's probably King back in the day.
Yeah, I could see that because that's
Don't mess with my disco, Nadine.
Oh, good old Harold. Can't wait to see who plays him in this one.
All I know is that I'm going to start referring to my writing and work as that bitch.
Yeah,
Love it.
You get an old typewriter and call it the bitch, the cold bitch.
I have to go back to the bitch.
Back, the bitch is back. Isn't that that's a Bruce Springsteen song, I believe. Oh no, that's Elton John. I'm sorry. I've mentioned this before, but the obvious metaphors were just killing me. You know, like the mirror being shattered, the whole crack on the wall. I thought was just like so. It was like we already got the idea that this is like the telltale heart with like the sense of guilt, you know, and he went full Poe by just showing the shattering on the walls to show that his like own mental instability was there. And I was just like, oh my God, dude, it was already obvious enough. Now you're like laying on these metaphors too. Just that killed me. This is really nitpicking, but at first, he uses elderly to describe a bag of Doritos, and I loved it. And then he uses it again 25 pages later to describe Shooter's station wagon. And I was like, no, you can't do it again. You know, what are you doing? Like, why are you using this description again? Like, that's such a cool, unique description. You got to pick one or the other. And I'd go with the bag of Doritos. I think it's interesting.
I've got another piece of misery.
Go for it.
Page 334. His index finger was marked by a small dot of blood. It looked like a bit of punctuation, the kind which ends a sentence. And that is the bullet that kills him. It's like a period, dun, 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 the
saying.
end. Like it's so
over the top.
Not as over the top as...
Oh, God.
As my 377 when it's during the epilogue talking about how he cut out his own pages of the story in the magazine. The missing pages were in the Buick's glove compartment. In the end, the existence of that story became a mystery even to him.
Yes.
Amy said softly.
So lame. And these are like the type of things that we usually say on this podcast is like jokes.
Yeah.
You know, like next time you're driving.
Who plays the investigator at the end? The one that's like walking through this, like at the end of Psycho. No, I'm not in the movie. I'm saying no. I'm just saying, like, who would you cast if they did the book ending?
Oh.
Where the guy comes in, like what actor is coming in and just like and saying all these things?
Robert Forster, who is that character in the remake of Psycho.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean it's that type of stuff though that like there's just no nuance to it. And you know, and had there been maybe a little bit more nuance, this might have been a more compelling read. But because it honestly reminds me a lot of like the new Twilight Zone, where it just shoves it down your throat. But
I like in the sewing season story the description. He says the wife was a cold, loveless bitch.
Yeah.
It is just like...
That's why it feels like a Bachman book, you know?
It does. And that's why I was surprised that it was almost like, this is a Bachman book. And then the last like paragraph where they're like, maybe he was a ghost. It's like, no, it's actually a Stephen King novel. It really felt like that.
Like Bachman's skin peels off and it's Stephen King being like, it was me all along.
I bet you thought I was a misogynist, but really there was a ghost.
But I love that lame reveal too, where they're like, Mort and Amy were vacationing in the country, and he bought that hat, and it's been in the attic, and that it's just like lame. Like, what a dumb thing to like attribute to your character, like that stupid hat.
It reminds
Why
me.
did you have that in there?
It reminds me of 80 Miles scene in Role Models when he's telling
the ghost story around the
it was
campfire?
the pizza delivery boy with the
From the beginning of the story.
And everyone's like,
everyone's
what?
just like, okay, next.
Yeah, that sucks. I think honestly, ultimately, what really does destroy this is just how it feels redundant. Like the dark half. I mean, like even at the end when he's like created his own persona, like that was like, oh my god, dude, like this is
we
just
know.
the fucking
We guessed
dark
it
half.
200 pages ago.
So yeah, that for me was just the we've been here, done that. Come on.
Yeah.
At least in the dark half,
it still
it's
felt
clear.
gross, and I hadn't read the dark half. It felt redundant in itself. Like every interaction with Shooter was redundant. Every conversation with Amy was somewhat redundant. I don't know.
I think you dig the dark half, Mel.
Yeah,
I'll read it.
Because from the get go, you're in on it.
Yeah,
but it's in a way that works.
Here's another thing I thought of, because the dark half is so insanely gory. Like crazy gory, like some of the most goriest like details that King's ever written in terms of like
Stark's
murder.
got some good kills in there. Yeah.
This felt exactly like the movie in 2004, especially that era of horror where it pulls its punches and it feels so PG-13. You know,
yeah. Well, he just, and the problem is because the mystery is there of who is he? Did he do it? You never see any of the horror. It's always after the fact, and it's never really that jarring.
No. It's like, oh, wow, a screwdriver.
You know?
Yeah. It's not scary.
No.
You know what is scary?
What?
Cemetery.
Oh.
What's the bottom of the truth?
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back. It may look like that person, but it ain't that person. Because whatever lives in the ground beyond that cemetery ain't human at all.
All right. Full disclosure, I have a lot here.
What?
I do.
I have 0.0.
Zero gravestones in the cemetery. Mike, what do you have? Well, you start. I have.
Yeah, Mike spill.
I have two things that are supposed to be scary, but they're not, and I'll read them.
Go for it.
It was finding Bump with the screwdriver. I was like, yeah, that's disturbing, but like, who cares? And then finding Tom and Greg dead with a screwdriver in the head and the hatchet in the back of the head. Like, I was just not impressed. I don't know. I just thought, well, okay. It didn't scare me at all.
Well, we're supposed to do our top 5. So, Mike, what are your top 5?
I'll just do the whole 5. I have
Scariest
6.
Holy Christmas.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
So Mel has no gravestones.
Go from 6 to 1. Go to
weathered
6 to 1.
So, all right. So, honestly,
these are like Civil War gravestones. They've been there for a long time.
Been there for a while. It's like, wow, 1832.
No name. Yeah.
I thought the first description, or later, like earlier on, when he first realizes the what's happening. This is on page 307 of the Scribner edition. Once the door was closed, the fear returned. He pressed his lips together and waited for the man to start pounding on it. And when that didn't come, he became convinced that the man was just standing out there, still as a stone and as patient as the same, waiting for him to reopen the door, as he would have to do sooner or later. Now, at that moment, I wasn't really picturing John Turturro. In fact, I pictured the guy, one of his co-stars in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Oh God, what's his fucking name? He was in
George Clooney.
No, not George Clooney. God, that would be. If George Clooney's outside my door, I'd be,
just standing there.
Yeah, get in. No, it's the guy who's from Buster Scruggs. Tim Blake Nelson.
Yes.
And I thought Tim Blake Nelson would be perfect because he's got that southern, charm to him.
He makes me uneasy. I think
and
he
he's
would
very
have been
uneasy.
much better in that role.
Me uneasy.
And I just imagine
I love Tim Blake Nelson, but he guy creeps me out.
He's creepy, and I just imagine him standing there, just solid like Michael Myers almost, and that creeped me out. The other ones are they're kind of personal reasons, but this one really, there's something, and this is fitting because today is Sunday, but there's really something kind of deeply disturbing about feeling depressed and ugly when you're surrounded by beauty. Because you realize that like the world is still going to move on and go its own way, and you could still be stuck in your own personal hell.
You got to read this.
So this is something that really got for me is that I always think about like the idea of Sunday has always been kind of a haunting day for me because it's supposed to be this idea, and this comes back to my own childhood that like Sundays are supposed to be a family time. It's supposed to be for those families who are religious. They go to they go to church together. That's why we do this
pod every Sunday.
That's why I love doing the pod on Sunday because we're back with a fam. But for me growing up, I was a latchkey kid, and especially with my mother who was like kind of she was an alcoholic, and so a lot of it was just like waiting around until she'd wake up, and if she did, we'd go get food or whatever. But like it was awful most of the time, just riding my bike around other people that had to go in early, and then being alone in that neighborhood while the sun was kind of dwindling and all. So this section right here, 346, like really just stuck with me, and I really loved it. He writes, he propped the pillows in their familiar positions, one behind his head and one behind his neck, and looked out at the lake where the sun was setting at the end of a long and spectacular golden track. I have never felt so lonely and so utterly horrible in my whole life, he thought with some amazement. Then his lids closed slowly over his slightly bloodshot eyes, and Mort Rainey, who had yet to discover what true horror was all about, fell asleep. And that, for me, like encapsulated that idea a little bit. Also, similar notion. There was the idea, let me get to it, it's on page 390, where he wrote, the house was full of dusty, late afternoon sunlight and silence, but it did not feel like unoccupied silence. And some of the creepiest moments growing up as a latchkey kid, and even now, is just being in that stillness of the house and feeling as if something is there. And it should be comforting because there's the sun, it's nice, it's tranquil, but something's amiss, and when you can't figure that out, it really sticks with you.
See, I like these takes, Mike, because that's not my experience, and obviously these things are subjective.
They are,
but I like that.
Insane.
But I like that you're pulling. I like that you're able to take this story and pull these things out of it and find these moments that I think are true. You know what I mean? Like I think we've all been there in some which way, shape, or form, and maybe I keyed into that when reading it, but like I just didn't make the note because I'm not in that place. I wasn't reflecting on something specific like that. But I do feel that, and I think that is a good bit of writing there. But yeah, continue.
The idea of it being not an unoccupied silence is very scary.
Yeah, and like
it's a great sentence.
It is. That's the thing. It's like, and King's so good at that. And most of my favorite like pieces of writing from him is when he does this sort of set dressing. So this is kind of not similar, but I thought on page 447 when this is where I really started seeing like a lot of the more personal insights from King coming out. He had thought of suicide then, quite calmly and quite rationally. His mother had sleeping pills. He would use those. Somewhat eased by this prospect, he tore the envelope open and pulled out a single sheet of stationery. He held it folded in one hand for a long moment and considered burning it without even looking at it. He wasn't sure he could stand to see the accusation held baldly up in front of him. He thought it might drive him mad. And just that ease of that notion of like, well, I could always just, unplug. That is very real. And the concept of the depression, you sleep a lot, and the whole thing is to, you want to dissociate, you want to you want to disconnect. So, obviously that's a little bit psychology 101, but like at the same time, like just the idea of, well, my whole world is going to be pulled up from underneath me. And obviously this section deals with Mort realizing that like, oh, he's going to get the letter back from this elderly queen, and they're going to say like, oh, you plagiarized and his life is over. And just the sort of insistence that like, oh, I can just kill myself and it'll be that there's a comfort to that, like really just was unnerving to me reading about it in this book. And because it not only like hit hard, but also made me realize that like maybe King's actually thought of these things too, because that's not like that comes from a personal place, and it comes from as much of a personal place as what he says when he's describing like smoking, when he's describing like his own addictions and all. And so like for me, it's like those little like glimpses of reality in this story were just enough for me to like go, okay, there's some sort of bearing in reality here. And like, there are some sort of consequences to like this downward spiral that's been going on.
That makes sense. And it is so unsettling that in that moment, the thought of suicide is like, oh, a relief. Like,
yeah,
I won't have to. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why, again, this is like the Bachman-esque part of it, where like, I think if this was just straight up not supernatural at all, and it was more about this writer, I think it would have been probably a lot more of an interesting story to me, grappling with those things. But then obviously, it's not that. But
no.
I see where you're pulling this stuff from. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, on supernatural note, that's my last one. Is you had warned me about the ending because we had hung out yesterday, and I had still about 60, 70 more pages to go. And I was still under the assumption that it was going to be very similar to Secret Window. And when it does do that twist, and it's on page 478 of mine, it says basically that Mort waved, Tom waved back, he drove by. Then, according to what Sonny says, Tom looked in his rearview mirror and saw another man with Mort in an old station wagon, although neither the man nor the car had been there 10 seconds before. The man was wearing a black hat, he said, but you could see right through him, and the car too.
That should have been the last line.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah.
But then, it continues.
But then you find out that, like, they're also haunted from this, and that they occasionally see this man appear to them with these sort of, like, eyes of pity. And that really creeped me out because it reminded me of in Miami, and a lot of actual ghost stories that you hear, you always have this sort of, a lot of this could be sleep paralysis too. There's somebody at the foot of the bed and they're staring at you. And just that image of, Shooter with his hat just staring down.
John Turturro.
Turturro, yes.
Or Tim Blake Nelson.
Just really creeped me out. And I wasn't there. My head wasn't there for ghosts at all. And so to be pulled out from that, like, was just like, holy shit. Like,
and like I was telling you, like, I liked that twist.
Yeah.
And so when we watched the movie, that I know you had seen it before, I was like trying to keep my mouth shut because I was like, oh, well, you're going to get to the end of this book in a second and you're going to realize it's not the movie ending.
Yeah.
And it's a little satisfying, but
I mean, morning sunshine was coming through my room. It was a bright day, and I was still like, I had goose flesh, just like Fred Evans in this story does. So
I hate that twist, and we've already discussed.
I know.
It should be the scary stuff. The scarier stuff is the stuff that he's going through in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mike, you were.
Go
ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say you're being very generous, a generous reader, and towards these bits, which I'll reiterate what Max says. I think that's like it's wonderful that we found something for the cemetery, in that you were able to relate to the writing here. I was going to segue and say, can we be a little bit even more generous and just pick out some bits of writing that we really, really liked in a section that we call Word Processor of the Gods.
And we're going to make a new rule. Whenever I'm in here, you hear me typing. Whether you don't hear me typing, what the fuck you hear me doing in here, when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in. Now, do you think you can handle that?
Yeah.
Fine. Why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here?
I am dry.
No,
I am dried out. Well, I always have a real hard time doing that. But this one in particular, nothing really blew me away. Mel, you want to tell us yours?
I have one. I just thought this was a nice moment. 261 of my signet. The sun, which had gone behind a cloud, came out again, and fall colors, which had already been bright, now seemed to burst into flame. His own shadow reappeared, dark and long and clear-cut. Shooter's round black hat looked blacker, his blue shirt bluer, and the air was so clear that the man seemed scissored from a swatch of reality that was brighter and more vital than the one Mort knew as a rule.
I like that.
When is that?
Scissored from a swatch of reality. That's like pretty early. It's only section 8.
Talk about reality again.
Yep. But that, in that sense, he's saying he's more real than real.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, again, like I've been reiterating this whole episode, I really did like King's own personal insights, and I'm not going to go back and revisit all those, but there was one revelation that he put in here that I have never really realized. It's just always been something that I've had. There's just like some sort of inherent dread with it, and it's his concept of naps. And I love relaxing and all, but I don't like naps, and it's for this very feeling. On page 322, he writes, "For every step he took forward, the entrance to the hall seemed to retreat a step back. And it occurred to Mort, not for the very first time, that hell was probably like the way you felt after sleeping too long and too hard on a hot afternoon. The worst of it wasn't physical. The worst was that dismaying, disorienting sense of being outside yourself, somehow. Just an observer looking through dual TV cameras with blurry lenses." Granted, that pretty much sums up the entire... There's a spoiler right there, but I always feel like that after naps. Like I never feel comforted. There's been so many situations where I just doze off watching something, and then I wake up and I'm still, have 8 hours until regular sleeping time, and I'm just fucked for the rest of the day.
Stop taking naps.
Just fucked.
No, I hate naps.
Set an
as
alarm.
Well. I'm not a big napper, and I'm against them. I'm a staunch advocate for no napping.
Anti-naps.
No napping. Anti-naps. Yeah, you stay awake even more.
I don't like naps so much. I didn't even download Napster. Awful joke.
Oh boy,
lame joke. But seriously, like that disorienting sense is just the worst.
It is. It's pretty bad.
It sucks. Yeah.
And that's all he does in this book. It's just nap. Like
Any other moments of writing genius?
He's got some great stuff on divorce. Not that that's like great or beautiful or anything, but he writes it really well. The stuff that Mort found that even the laugh hurt. They knew each other all right. Wasn't that what the years together were supposed to be for? And wasn't that why it hurt so goddamn bad when you discovered that not only could the years end, they really had? There's things I did not expect in this sort of like soap opera drama.
Little nuggets in there.
You're like, ooh, yeah, that's pretty good there. And then obviously I love what he goes off on short stories classes because I hated them. Those were my own personal hell. And when he talks about the reality of English studies is pretty great, and talks about how everyone knows that you're just going to be using this for editing here and there, or writing some stupid guide or whatnot. And basically just the whole writer's depression. It's like on 444 and 445. I don't need to go into all the passages and whatnot, but there's some really cool, keen graphs there that are going to show up in a much better way on writing 10 years later. But you could see the glimpses there for sure. And he laid these out also in Misery and in The Dark Tower as well. So I just, I don't always love his characters who are writers, as we saw with Ben Mears and certainly with Mort. But I do love when he can write from that sort of experience, because it's fun. It's like being in a class with King.
Yeah.
I'm now picturing a Rick and Morty parody where it's like John and Morty.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's like, well, I don't know, John. It seems like you shouldn't be killing cats.
I could see that. Yeah, that would be just get in the car. Put on the hat.
Put on the hat. How can we both wear the hat, John?
Somebody needs to make art for that.
That would be my word
Rick and Morty,
Yeah.
Morty and John.
Yeah.
Love it. It looks like, and it has to look like John Turturro as well.
Exactly. Oh, that's actually perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. It was so much work to try and get those nuggets out that I'm so hungry. And I got great news for everybody. It is a feast. Let us dig into some pound cake.
After all you've been taught,
Everyone in bad, Mama. Everything in the sin.
come to your closet and pray. Ask to be forgiven.
He's a nice boy, Mom. You like him. You really like him, Mama.
Does someone want to start?
Let's just go. Let's just do rounds, right? We'll just switch off.
I've really only got one note.
Oh man, I've got 6 or 7.
I mean, there's stuff in there. This one just kind of grossed me out. It's I just Amy's being attacked by John at the or Mort at the end. It's just his lower face was a mask of blood. The mask split open, showing Mort Rainey's crooked front teeth. And then in that moment, she says, she could remember licking across those teeth with her tongue.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's like, you're thinking
That's what
about
you
that
do when
right now?
you're married.
It's just
when
like-
you're married, you can lick your husband's teeth.
Ooh.
that's what I always did. Now,
I can't wait to hear these, though.
Mel, you go for one.
My first one is him at the beginning walking to his couch, the couch of the comatose writer. An economic little smile tugged his cheeks. His balls felt high and tight against the fork of his groin. Why? Why do I need to know that?
Yeah.
Hey, got to hear about those balls.
High and tight against the fork. That's how I like them.
High and tight.
This probably should have been more in Misery, but I threw it in Pound Cake anyway because we need to pad out a little bit. But on page 306, I don't blame you for not liking it, the man in the black hat said. He spoke in the same patient and serene way. He spoke, Mort thought, like a therapist whose work is teaching small children who are retarded in some mild way.
And that comes up again and again. He never uses the word retarded again, but he's like, there's 5 moments in the story where he's like, Shooter was talking to him as though he was a slow child. Like, ugh.
Yeah, not good. Not good. I keep now envisioning just Shooter McGavin as his, like, the person that keeps showing up to, like, his
Bang,
door. Shooter! Like, just,
oh my God.
Oh my God.
Mac, are you done? Or, like,
I'm
that
done. I'm done,
Okay.
baby.
Fine, well, we can carry it without you.
Yeah, I want to hear these.
Well, I'll pass the butter to you, Mel.
I don't know what you're talking about, Mort said, but the day you get a story out of me will be the day the Statue of Liberty wears a diaper, Pilgrim. Shooter said meditatively, I'd leave her out of it if I could, but I'm starting to think you ain't going to leave me that option. So he's going to put a diaper on the Statue of Liberty.
Well, hey, speaking of diapers and shit, on page 416, early, Sonny said, 6 or so. I was just about to step into the old shitatorium for my morning constitutional. Awful regular, I am. Sonny sounded extremely proud of this. Ugh.
Read the next one.
Of course, Tom, he knows what time I rise and commence my doings.
My doing.
Oh.
Why is he so obsessed
he
with
loves
shit?
He loves shit.
Why?
I don't know.
Is he? I mean,
I don't know.
just like we always
we all know it.
just like
you
we
wake up,
assume,
you eat food, you write, 6 pages, and then you take a shit. I don't know.
he must be. Look, we all assume that he's had some sort of affair because of how much he writes about it. He must have shit his pants in such a bad way as like a kid or something, and it's haunted him in the same way that Kittner has haunted.
It's like the shit demon from Dreamcatcher.
Yeah.
came about.
I
the
think
shit weasel.
He's probably annoyed him that a lot of writers don't write about it as a fact of life, and so he's like, I need to make up for so much of that.
Well, you know what, Steven? How about write about like the things they're eating more often? Like people never write about people eating during these movies and events.
No. Could you imagine if like King was a travel or food writer? He'd actually be pretty good there because he's very descriptive.
It would just be about like the kinds of shits you took the days after.
Oh,
well, this food rested well or this didn't. This is the kind of shit I took yesterday.
My balls were high and tight as I took a bite of cake.
God.
Okay.
What else?
Here we go. The phone rang, then making him jump, he snatched the hat off guiltily, a little like a man who fears he may be caught trying on his wife's underwear.
Oh, I totally missed that one. Interesting.
It's like such a specific dumb metaphor to choose.
All I can see is King sitting in Tabby's undies, like writing this, like.
Well, hey, he allegedly had him on the set of Maximum Overdrive.
That's right.
Well, and this is like, I don't know, it's a legitimate kink that's no longer stigmatized. And here he's clearly tipping his hat, being like, wouldn't that be fucked up?
Yeah, that's antiquated now. On page 428, he ran for the bathroom, unclasping his belt as he went. It was a near thing, but he made it. He sat on the ring in the rich odor of his own wastes, his pants around his ankles, catching his breath, and the phone began to ring again. Why do you... I don't know. Again, it's
keep going. We've got the he had that.
Oh yeah, you go. Go for it.
Here we go. He sprang up like a jack released from its box, cracking one knee smartly on the side of the washstand, and ran for it, holding his pants up with one hand and mincing along like a girl in a tight skirt. He had that miserable, embarrassing "I didn't have time to wipe" feeling, and he guessed it happened to everyone. But it suddenly occurred to him he had never read about it in a book, not one single book ever.
Well, now we did. God. Yeah.
Just mincing like a girl in a tight skirt who didn't wipe. Oh boy.
Life is such a comedy. Jesus. Do you have another one?
Oh, I'm trying. Yeah, I have a couple more.
I got one more. That's it.
Yeah, you go.
What frame of mind was I in that I wasn't noting these when I was reading?
Hey, I was missing some within Pound Cake. That's
like
the ones that I've already.
I was just so upset when I was reading it. I just didn't even want to take the note. I don't
Oh, wait, I
understand.
found one.
Oh, go for it.
This
Go
one's
for it.
great. He's at the post office. This is just a great phrase. She'd already turned away.
Mm-hmm.
Her sturdy country bum was presented to him as she shuffled through some packages on the floor. Her sturdy country bum was presented to him. Like, not only is that like awkward passive phrasing, but sturdy country bum.
Sturdy. I'm gonna next time. I talk to my girlfriend. I'll be like, what a sturdy bum. Sturdy. What the fuck does that mean?
Sturdy country.
Sturdy country bum. Maybe like, do you get something being on a saddle?
It's just a strong bum.
I
It's
guess
just a
from working on the
strong
farm,
bum, man.
It's firm country bum.
Country bum. What a flimsy city bum looks like, but
Easily
come to
fragile,
Chicago.
breakable city ass.
Yeah. Mel, that was mine. So go for it.
I thought it was really ridiculous that we get to this climax and Shooter's been written everywhere. Shooter was sprayed on the window twice in what looked like dried whipped cream.
Yeah.
And yes, there was the Ready Whip pressure can lying discarded under the stove. Like, that's just laughable.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. That was what killed me too. With the Shooter written everywhere, it was such a and again, I'm thinking like this is a done trope. Because how many times have we, like they finally get into the house of the person and then it's just like there's writing on the walls everywhere. And, it's like in the Mouth of Madness or, like, I don't know. It just sounds so dumb. But yeah, the fact that, and then, because then you start thinking of the things like, it's whenever we question like Michael Myers.
I was just going to say.
It's the behind the scenes. You're like, okay, so at some point, Mort got the can and like was like strategically writing this out in whipped cream. Like it's
maybe he was getting some
lame.
strawberries.
Like, what else can I
lame.
use?
It would have been more
it's not
believable if
scary.
he had also added like a little line like, strewn across the floor were bits and pieces of angel food cake. Just some reasoning
Hot
for
fudge.
yeah, exactly.
Mort had written in his own shit on the wall.
That would be more believable and honest to the book than whipped cream. Like what?
Yeah.
Is Ali Larder from Varsity Blues there?
But that's hard to do too. Well, we'll get to the movie, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I love whipped cream though.
I do too. Speaking of things written all over everywhere, King has connected a lot of his works with all of his writing, written all over everywhere. I'm really sorry.
No, this is great.
Man.
Thank you. Let's head into King's Dominion.
There's another world out there. I know there is.
I just got the one. Do you guys
Go
have
for it.
more
You
than
just
the
you've
more
been
than
you've
the
been
one?
teasing this one for a while.
No, it's blatant. It's obvious.
No, but you
Is it dairy?
Oh, is this
Yeah, it's just dairy.
Oh, well, dairy.
Dairy.
Yeah.
But no
house is in
mention
dairy.
of no mention of the evil in dairy at all. Nothing.
No.
Zero.
But just
you
weird
know
because-
what though? There is an evil that takes place there. His wife stepping out on him.
Well, even then,
Pennywise made me do it.
Yeah, she's sleeping with Pennywise.
So here's the thing. I was like hoping that like some of the names would link up a little bit, like the Marchman restaurant. Like that's not in it.
I thought so too.
And there wasn't. Like
I
the
didn't-
hotel
I didn't
maybe.
catch that, though, yeah.
The owner of the diner is Gerda Bowie, which sounds a lot like Greta Bowie.
Yeah. So I don't know what could have gone to like somewhere.
What path of the beam is this? You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not a maybe
Path of the
dairy
cat.
exists, but it doesn't exist on this beam. The beam.
I had one
the beam of
more.
Mort.
Oh, I know what it is. It's the beam of the squirrel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Looking at him from the branch. Yeah.
I love how they keep that in the movie.
Yeah, it's
all right. What do you got, Mel?
It's the I said dairy, so you do whatever you have. I don't want to steal it.
No, I have a couple of room 237s.
Oh, I have on 340. He would hew to the old Vietnam axiom: kill them all and let God sort them out.
Oh yes, okay. Mike mentioned that before the episode, and I didn't want to take it.
And I mean, Mel, you did a huge breakdown of that quote of like past episodes.
I sure did, because it was in Christine, wasn't it? Like
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
Yeah. I love that line though.
He's popping up.
I don't think anyone who's ever listened to this podcast could walk away and not hear Max von Sydow belting that out in this
Kill them all. Let
insanely
God,
90s trailer. I have, I guess this would be more 237, but I did think that, like, obviously the pseudonyms on page 314 when they're talking about that dark half, there's some sort of, Katie there. I also thought on page 354 when they're talking about people gawking outside their house, it was King talking about his own house in Maine a little bit too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But there's one more that I think is more of a 237. So I think, Mel, did you have more? That's like,
No, that's all I got.
Shall we go into room 237?
Yeah, let's open that door.
What about room 237?
Room 237?
You're scared of room 237, ain't you?
No, I ain't.
Mr. Allen, what is in room 237?
I didn't know we made a whole section.
I know.
We do. We have a subsection
now.
I actually have to find the audio cue because Mac's usually the only one to really do it.
Now let me just say, because we don't normally do this all the time, room 237 are our extreme reaches for King connections. Page 225 in this UK version. In the morning, he was sitting in front of his word processor. Word processor of the gods.
This is just wasting time.
Keep going.
This episode's a waste of time. All right, here we go. Page 230. So, in talking about the two different stories that John Shooter has written and Mort has written, the Sowing Season and the Secret Window, Secret Garden. In Mort's version, the garden the body that's buried there in the garden that grows the food or whatever, in Mort's version, it's beans, which could be from the Dark Tower, Zoltar and the beans, the magical fruit.
Oh my God.
And in Shooter's version, it was corn, children of the corn.
Oh my
This is
God.
just being like, he uses the word the a lot in both novels.
Mel, how dare you? Mel, he also, I think, it drives a Buick from a Buick 8, anyone?
That one I'll accept. He likes Buicks.
That's all I've got. Mike, what reaches do you have?
All right, I have one reach. And this is I think this has a little weight to it. On page 324 in Scribner, I told you why, she said at last, that's Amy, to see if you were all right. She sounded flustered and unsure of herself again, and that usually meant she was telling the truth. When Amy lied, she always sounded as if she was telling you the world was round. I had one of my feelings. I know you don't believe in them, but I think you do know that I get them and that I believe in them. Don't you, Mort? The Shining.
I think that's more of Misery. I think that she does have the shine.
Yeah.
Because they go into that a lot about how she has these feelings and she's constantly connected to Mort and all that stuff. So I think that's a legit one. I think we should throw that back into the.
Well, I just don't know if it's the shine. It's just something psychic.
Yeah.
Like could be dead zoney. I don't know, but
maybe it's Johnny Smith.
But I think
maybe
Johnny Smith even has a bit of the shine.
Do you think Amy's Johnny Smith's daughter?
I think
Yes.
Amy's his sister. I think it's actually Amy Smith, married name Rainey.
What if they made a Dead Zone sequel and it was like John Smith had a sister?
it was my goal to keep this episode under.
It's
3 hours.
Forget it. Johnny Smith's sister that we didn't know existed is played by Maggie Gyllenhaal in what we like to call the Dead Window.
The Dead
which
Window.
is a cross
I like
between Dead Zone and the Secret Window.
Dead Window.
with Sheriff Alan Pangborn instead of Bannerman.
Yeah.
In
Secret Zone.
The Secret
That sounds
Zone.
sexual.
Secret Zone.
I like that. I like that.
The porn parody.
The porn parody. Oof. God, are we at the end of the beam?
We are
we
the
are,
beam. We're
definitely.
the squirrel's tail, and it's time to give our overall thoughts and nose ratings.
Dad, can we go now?
You ready?
Yeah, we've been ready for an hour.
Okay, I'll be right there.
You said that a half hour ago. Yeah, my dad's weird. He gets like that when he's writing.
I'll kick it off.
Do it.
God,
I'm
give
very
it
excited
like,
to see what this is.
I'll give it a 1.5 bright red Pennywise clown noses. This didn't do it for me. It's short and sweet. I read it quickly, which was nice.
Short and sour.
Short and sour. Short and shitty.
High and tight.
It's high and tight, short and shitty. I didn't love it. I can't even go into it. We've been talking about this whole time. We've been very negative about it. I didn't love it. I thought that there was a couple of nuggets of interesting things in here, but for me, it read like a bad Bachman book, and the supernatural wasn't a good enough twist for me to get invested.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
Fair. I'm at 2. I'll give it 2 because I really like the twist. I like some of the little insights, as I mentioned. Bad Bachman book is great, and honestly, given his track record, that's pretty much the norm, with the exception of The Long Walk and Thinner. I felt there were a lot of similarities between Roadwork and Thinner here, just in the way that it's very pulpy, in ways that could have been fun, but were mostly just frustrating. I felt it definitely suffered from thinking it's a little too clever when it's not. And again, we've argued, is that because we've had the hindsight of knowing all these things? We've seen the movie, obviously. We've had this trope for 15, 20 years popularized in pop culture. Even so, I thought Mort was not a person that either of us really wanted to spend time with for 180 pages. And but I give that a little bit more, half a little nose, a whole nose than you would, Max, just because I really love that revelation at the end, and it's something that's going to like kind of haunt and stick with me. So that's what you want at the end of a scary story. So it was like the inverse of Gerald's Game for me, whereas like the ending worked, but like the journey there was kind of like, oh God, what a slog. So 2.
All right. I'm going to give it 1, and it's 1 bright red Pennywise clown nose, except I feel like it's not even bright. It's been like rolled in the dirt and you found it under your sofa.
Jeez.
I don't know. I really didn't like it. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I think it's unsuccessful almost entirely. I think the structure with the twist, it does not do a graceful enough job to make that twist seem satisfying or surprising. And you really got to hit at least one of those. Yeah. And I think the characters are pretty uninspired. I'm interested in the conversation about plagiarism and writing, and that's why it gets 1. But yeah, high and tight, short and shitty, as Max said.
That's fair. I think that's fair. Well, then that is a 1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1.5, 1.5.
What did Langoliers get?
Oh, Langoliers.
I think my point
that
0.
was like a 1.
Yeah.
They did not like that story, and they are very vocal about it.
Yeah. Let's just say his 90s is starting out as struggle.
I've yet to edit the miniseries portion of that episode, but I'm very interested in, and that'll already have come out at this point, but I'm sure it's not very good either.
All right, so an average of 1.5. I think it's earned it. And I'm looking through my secret window where my dog is resting and the sun is setting. So I think we gotta save the movie discussion for another episode. Any last parting thoughts?
I was really jonesing to talk about Johnny Depp this week, but
we're gonna do it later.
I might have to create a split personality and talk to myself about Johnny Depp.
Yeah, Mort Gerber is going to be joining us next time.
Mort Mac.
Well, everyone keep themselves occupied with their dissociated personalities. And in the meantime, long days and pleasant nights.
I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. But you know you want somebody to treat you good.
Consequence Podcast Network.